Hello, my name is Phoenix Phillips and I am a videographer. I haven't quite come up with the name for the channel yet, but essentially what I want to do with this channel is show a behind the scenes look of creatives. Creatives is a very broad term. It could mean a bunch of things. Primarily though, I've been working in the tattoo space as a videographer for about 5 years now, and there's a lot of really cool stories. This first video, specifically I'm going to be looking back at some old footage from 2019 on a trip to Beijing, China with Bishop Rotary. Some of the people you're going to be seeing in this video include Franco Vescovi, Mr. Cartoon, Jack Rudy, David Vega, Steve Soto, and James, or better known as just James Worldwide. We were invited by a tattoo artist named YZ. My job was basically to document any and everything. I think what really set the tone for the trip was, honestly, as soon as we landed, we were greeted by YZ and his crew, and along with that, there was a film crew as well. Did you expect that greeting?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I expected a more grandiose greeting, if you really want to know, but that one will still work. It's okay.
We got a lot of fun and exciting things happening, and going to be visiting our friends over at YZ Tattoo Studio, as well as at the LangFang Convention. In fact, we got our friend YZ right here with us.
What we didn't expect though was to get picked up by 4 Rolls Royces, a G-Wagon, and some other cars that I couldn't even name. We got into these fleet of cars and headed into Beijing. We checked into our hotel, and right across the street was YZ's tattoo studio. So we went there and did a little tour.
It's our newest machine.
Oh, machine.
Bishop 1.
Common issue we ran into during the entire trip was the language barrier. No one in our crew spoke Mandarin, and very few of the people that we were with spoke English. We did have a few people that were great translators for us, but it was consistently using translation apps and just trying to communicate as much as we could.
So how is the tattoo scene here in China right now? How big is it? How big is tattoo scene?
In China.
You translate.
Japanese.
我说他说的听不懂，那你成了翻译了。
How well is the English? How well is the English? A little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Just I'm gonna use kanji.
Yeah.
I do want to give a huge shout out though to Toshi. He is a jewelry maker from Japan, and on top of being great at what he does, he was probably one of the coolest people that I met on this trip. He's a very nice guy, very humble, great at what he does. We then went to a dinner where we essentially had the entire second story of a restaurant. It was a lot of mixing, mingling, getting to know each other, but when you get a bunch of tattoo artists together, eventually artwork starts to get shown. The next morning we all got on a bus and headed to the Great Wall of China. There was a lot of interesting conversations that took place. One where Jack Rudy was talking about his views on tattoo artists that don't have tattoos.
It's like a vegan owning a steakhouse. Why would you do that? You know, it's not against the law, and this is so personal. This is so much personal. It's like, I would never trust anybody. It's like, what? Oh yeah, I see you're a good artist, but you don't have any tattoos? You're not tattooing me. Because it's not about just how good they are. It's like, what are they really? Because if you cannot claim that you love and respect this business, this art, if you don't have it. You can claim that, but it's not true. Because if you love and respect the art of tattooing, how come you don't have none?
Was 9 years
Yeah,
late.
he was late too. This fucker, I put his first one on.
I heard that recently, yeah.
You wouldn't even talk to me until I had a tattoo. I don't trust you, Holmes.
That's right. That's all I would say. That's all I would say to him. I don't trust you, Holmes. No, I'm sorry. I don't
Until
trust
that's
you,
link
Holmes.
on you.
Do you think he took pictures with you just because you have tattoos?
Yeah. For sure. I don't think you've seen a Mexican tattoo before.
We went up to the Great Wall and started exploring. You start to realize why they call it the Great Wall. It is absolutely huge, and we were only on a small portion of it. None of the footage really does it justice to show how grand it was. We got back from the Great Wall and went straight to the tattoo studio. David Vega didn't join us because he was prepping and working on a client who had flown in. People were constantly surrounded by David as he was working. Seeing his work online is one thing, but seeing it in real life is another. The next day we did some sightseeing, went to some temples, and just hung around Beijing, all in prep to go to the main event called YZ Tonight. This was a huge gathering of many different artists, people from the fashion industry, the jewelry industry, the tattoo industry, all from all over the world. Essentially, it was a big party.
I'll get as many tattoos as possible. That way you can't get regular job, you have to get creative job. Can't work for KFC. Hit switches, listen to Dr. Dre, and get tattoos.
After we were done with YZ Tonight, we packed up and went to LangFang, which is right outside of Beijing. This is where an international tattoo convention was taking place. This was by far one of the biggest conventions I'd been to at the time. One thing that really stood out to me was at most tattoo conventions, artists will have their work on the table in front of them. But instead of pictures or prints, a lot of the artists at the convention literally had people that they had done pieces on standing in front of their booth. That way you could see their work in real life. If you don't follow the tattoo industry, you might not know a lot of these people. These guys are basically tattoo royalty. You have people constantly coming up and getting pictures, asking for autographs, and asking for little tidbits of information. Mr. Cartoon had the biggest booth of any artist at the convention. If I'm not mistaken, he had not tattooed at an actual convention in 10 to 15 years at that point. So being able to see him work publicly is actually a pretty rare thing. Not only was it interesting to see the influence of Western culture into Eastern culture, but specifically to see LA/Chicano culture represented at the convention. Another artist whose booth was consistently packed was Shige. Shige is a Japanese artist who is known for his large-scale pieces and colors that he puts into his art. Honestly, I don't think there was ever less than 10 people surrounded him. It was a constant barricade of people trying to get a view of Shige working and tattooing. On top of the convention being massive, the competition level was something I had never seen before. A grand stage with many high-level artists and other high-level tattoo figures as judges. Some tattoo conventions hold a much higher prestige than others, so being able to walk away with a trophy from this convention was a big ticket item for a lot of the artists. Now, one of the most interesting things that happened was somebody had snuck over and stole 2 tattoo machines from the Bishop booth. They got in touch with the head of security at the tattoo convention. 30 minutes later, they came back with the 2 machines and the guy who had stolen them. When they brought him back, they had asked Franco what they wanted to do with him. And instead of pressing charges or doing anything major, Franco wanted him to do 30 push-ups.
Film this, dude. Film it.
Wait, no, 50 of them. Get it?
30. Okay, 0. 30.
Okay.
No, 30. 30.
Keep going.
Keep going. Keep going. This is what happens when you steal from Bishop. This is what happens. Don't be like this guy.
After 2 days of the tattoo convention, we wrapped everything up and headed back home. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, I really appreciate it. My goal is to start posting more consistently with a mixture of content to figure out which format I like best for YouTube. So hopefully you enjoyed this behind the scenes look at one of my most favorite trips that I've ever been on. I was just super grateful to be along with a camera.